Hi, I'm Chris Steele, and I want to take a minute to applaud you for taking a step towards increasing your financial education by joining us today. You know, over the years, people have come to love Robert Kiyosaki's candor in exposing the financial myths that many of the mainstream financial experts continue to talk about in magazines, talk shows, and news programs. To simply state the Rich Dad philosophy, it is that the foundation of your financial success is thinking differently. The traditional rules of money that most of us have been taught, go to school, get a job, work hard, they simply won't make you rich. The rich are raised knowing this truth. The poor are not. That's why we're excited to bring you this powerful online event. This event is designed to help you change the way you think about money and prepare you to take control of your financial future. Now, before we get started, let me tell you about 3 quick features. First, throughout the event today, you're going to see messages displayed on the right-hand side of your screen. These messages will help reinforce the topic being discussed and give more background information on today's speakers. Second, below the video, you're going to see a number of special offers just to thank you for joining us today. If you're ready to take your financial education to the next level, just click on one of those banners and take advantage of these special offers. Finally, if you're joining us on Facebook, be sure to hit the like button above the video so you can keep up with all of our events and special offers. So without any further delay, let's get started. Well, Robert, we're so excited to talk with you on this special occasion. It's our 20-year anniversary for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and 25 million copies, 36 languages. When you started out, really, what was your purpose? What was your goal with the book?
Well, it's been 20 years since I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it goes to, I ask all of you this question: what did school teach you about money? You know, what did they say? Was there a class called Money, or was there a class How to Be Rich? And how many of you are still operating out in this world without any idea what money is, what financial education is? So what did school teach you about money? And for most people, the answer is nothing.
That's right.
Yeah, very little.
And then you wonder why people are in trouble financially. So today, it was Bernie Sanders who was running for president against Hillary. He said wealth and income inequality is the greatest moral crisis facing the world today, in the world. In other words, the rich are getting richer, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, the poor and middle class are getting poor. I'm a lot older than you guys, but when I was a kid, everybody talked about saving the poor. Nobody talks about that anymore. They now talk about saving the middle class. And so what's happening? Well, what's happening is there's no financial education in our schools. So when I was a kid at 9 years old, I'm 4th generation Japanese American. I grew up in Hawaii. My father was head of education for the state of Hawaii, PhD, Stanford graduate, University of Chicago, Northwestern, and University of Hawaii. So he was the boss when I was a kid. So I'm in class, and I don't know how it happened. It wasn't manipulated, but I happened to go to a rich school, rich elementary school. So across the street from me were the poor kids, where I should have been, okay? Because we all worked for the plantation. Mm-hmm. We were just basically like the African Americans. We're brought over as slaves. Right. They were called indentured servants. So this is now 1950. Slavery is over, but we still have segregation, rich versus poor. So right across the street from me was Union School. And Hilo Union School, and it was for all the kids whose parents were union members, laborers. And for some reason, I was on the rich kids' side, all the rich white kids who owned the plantations. Mm-hmm. So I was 9 years old. I didn't know I was poor until I went to school. All my rich white guys, the nice guys, and the girls, very nice people. They had beach houses, they had brand new bicycles. Their parents didn't have SUVs, but they drove those big Ford Fairlanes with the wood panels on the side. It was like Father Knows Best and Leave It to Beaver. And they were really smart. They were on a different agenda. They all went to private schools after that because they knew public education wasn't for their kids. Mm-hmm. So I'm 9 years old again, the 4th grade. I raised my hand and I asked the school teacher, I said, when are we going to learn about money? You know? And my school teacher could have been teaching me Sunday school. They sounded alike, you know. She didn't, but she was like, the love of money is the root of all evil. And she didn't say that, but I got the message, you know. We don't teach about money in school. It's a dirty, filthy subject. I'm like, what? She says, you're here to get a job. And I said, so I can work for them. To work for the white guys who own the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, your job is to get a job. That's what your job is. Go to school, get this job. And I said, when are you going to teach me about? She says, you don't need to know about money, just get that job. So this whole thing here is I go home and I ask my old man, poor dad, here he is, PhD and all this, and in the Japanese community, the way out of poverty was through education. So he says, well, you just go to school so you can join the middle class. I said, Dad, hey, no offense, but I don't want to be middle class, you know. I don't want a job. I just want to get rich. Just tell me how to get rich. I can bypass the job stuff. And my old man, good guy, he's a great father, great teacher. He says, I'm afraid our school system will never teach you about money. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to take poor people, kids who work in agriculture, and put them into the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
It's not designed to take the middle class to the rich.
Right.
I went, oh, well, why didn't they tell me that? So my dad then said, if you want to find out how to get rich, talk to your best friend's father. And my best friend, Mike, was the same position as I was. We're Asian kids in a white school. And he says, his father's going to be a rich man. I said, why is he going to be rich and you're not rich? We're both Asian. He says, I'm an employee, and Mike's father is an entrepreneur.
Wow.
Oh, and then I went to visit Rich Dad, and that's the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But the reason I wrote the book back in 1997, because I was already rich.
Mm-hmm.
I was financially free. I didn't have a job. I didn't need a job. I didn't have a 401k. I didn't invest in the stock market. I didn't save money. So when people ask me how I did it, I just said, well, I had a rich dad and a poor dad. My wife Kim and I created the board game Cash Flow to teach people what the rich know about money. So that's why in 1997 I wrote the book, because I could see this crisis coming.
Right.
So the idea of go to school, get a job, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, invest in the long term in the stock market, that's industrial age thinking.
Right.
After the year 2000, we went into the information age.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're teaching in school today is obsolete, very obsolete information. So millions of middle class, it's the higher educated middle class are getting wiped out today, not the poor.
Right.
So that's why I'm glad you guys are here from Rich Dad's Coaching and all this, because we have a very important job to do. We all do. We need to educate ourselves, because our school system's not going to do it.
Well, in the book, I mean, it's been 20 years and it had a profound impact on our family and the way we raised our kids. But don't you feel like today the information is actually maybe even more valuable than it was 20 years ago?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, is when I wrote the book in 1997, there's a war on right now. Mm-hmm. The academic types, the Hillary and Obama, versus the rich, Trump and his friends. And there's this war going on, the Bernie Sanders crowd versus the rich. So I'm not saying one is right or wrong, I don't want to be poor. I mean, I want to be rich. So, I'd rather be rich.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't really want a job. I don't want Social Security. I don't want Medicare. I don't want the government to take care of me. Now, if you do, fine. That's not my choice. Most of my friends are counting on Social Security. They have a government pension, and they have got savings. That's obsolete thinking, but it'll work for them. It will not work for the next generation.
Right.
Agree.
Your generation, you guys are in trouble.
Well, we get the 20-year anniversary edition coming out. Talk a little bit about that, the difference as far as what people can expect.
There's a Rich Dad, Poor Dad 20th anniversary edition. And for those of you who have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, thank you. Please read it again, but nothing has changed. I mean that. I think you'll see it differently now, because you'll see what's happened since you read the book. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad remained the same. What makes the 20th anniversary edition beneficial to all of you? It's about what caused me to write the book. So there are sidebars and there's stories. For example, in 1997, the economy was booming.
True.
I don't know if you guys remember, old enough to remember, but Alan Greenspan, who was the Fed chairman, said, hey, cut this irrational exuberance out. The stock market was going through all-time highs. The reason it was going through all-time highs, it was manipulated. It was guys like Clinton was the biggest president. I'm not Republican or Democrat. Don't get upset with me. I'm not liberal. I'm not communist. I don't really care. But Clinton did the most damage to our economy. He repealed the Glass-Steagall Act. He allowed all this trading to go on, and there was something else he did. But anyway, he did a lot of things. And the economy boomed. It was good for the rich. So in 96, Greenspan comes out, Fed Chairman Greenspan. Oh, they were manipulating the market, that's right. So they were manipulating the market, and Greenspan came out and he said, irrational exuberance, be careful. And he was right on, because we went from industrial age to information age on the year 2000. May I show a chart?
Yeah,
Yes, please.
So let me show you this chart here, because I think the picture is better than my words. This here is the Dow since 1895, so how many is that here? 120-something years. And 122 years. It goes flat, 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 flat. Then all of a sudden it starts to pop. It started to pop in 1971 when President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. What that meant was our US dollar, which was the world's currency at that time. Everybody had to trade in dollars up until and still today, in 1971. When he took us off the gold standard, Nixon could print money. The dollar is now dead. It's not backed by gold anymore. So the poor and middle class got wiped out. So I said, and so when the market went up, 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 and you look here, this is 1997. So this is when Rich Dad, Poor Dad was printed for the first time. April 1st, 1997, 20 years ago. And look at what happened since then. So in 1997, Rich Dad, Poor Dad says the rich don't work for money. Now that was blasphemy. All the academic editor types who ran the big publishing houses, you don't know what you're talking about, because most of the editors and publishers in the book world are like Poor Dad. They're like Hillary and Obama.
Right.
Same mindset, highly educated, Harvard, all that stuff, which I'm not part of. Anyway, so I said the rich don't work for money. What the rich work for are assets. They're entrepreneurs. Second thing I said, savers are losers. Also, your house is not an asset. So you look at what happened in the year 2000.
Right.
After I said all this, and I was crucified by the publishers, Rich Dad, Poor Dad had to be self-published. And in 2000, the first crash hit. It was called the dot-com crash. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Millions of people got wiped out. So Greenspan propped it up again. They printed money, more money. Then what happened in 2005, 2007, remember the real estate crash? The subprime crash. And that's what I had predicted in 1997. Look at this chart here. Your house is not an asset. Millions of people all around the world found out their house is not an asset. They got wiped out. They were using the houses as ATMs. They were taking money out of them. And then the third crash was the 2008 crash, and the banks crashed. Okay. And that's when savers became losers, simply because, and this is all said in 1997 again, savers became losers because the banks started printing money. So in 1970, when I was just getting out of school, the academy, if I had $1 million, I got paid 15% interest on my money. Today, you're lucky if you get 1%.
True.
So you could be a millionaire today and only making about $1,500 or $15,000 a year on your $1 million. $1 million worth nothing today. Countries like Sweden is negative interest rates. Japan is negative interest rates. So millionaires are worth nothing because their money is worth nothing. And yet parents are still saying to their kids, go to school, get a job, save money, buy a house, and get out of debt.
Right.
So that's why when you ask me, why did I write Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Is because I could see this coming. Now, why do you want to read the 20th anniversary book? Because what you will see in the 20th anniversary edition is what I saw that led up to this crash here. And then once you see that, you can see what's going to happen beyond 2020. You see, something else is going to change. Let me give you a couple more facts, and I'll let you head the floor back. I want you to show, people say the biggest crash of all was 1929. This is the 1929 crash of the same chart. You can't even see it. And a bigger crash is coming than ever before. I hope it doesn't come. I think I'm about 40% correct, 60% wrong right now. But in the year 2020 or earlier, we're going to have one bigger than 1929, giant one. By the way, we've had 3 major crashes in the first 10 years of this century. 2000, 2005, 2008. 3 crashes bigger than 1929. Then look at this chart here. This is the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
So why did I write Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Because I think we're going back to 1929 again. Now, it's bad news for most people, but it's good news for those who are prepared. Because as many people know, crashes are when you get rich.
Right.
You know, if Walmart had a sale, they said this large screen TV used to be $100, now it's $20. Everybody run in and buy it. But when the stock market or the real estate market or the bond market has a sale, nobody buys it.
They're scared.
Yeah, because there's no financial education. So I'll ask you again, what does school teach you about money? Answer is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why for those of you looking at this chart are afraid, you should be afraid. You should be very afraid right now. But for people like me, I'm just going to get richer. And I want you to get richer too. So that's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And it's also interesting to hear, it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
So those that were in their 20s and read it for the first time are now in their 40s. Those that were in their 40s are now facing retirement. So there's just so much of life changes that can happen in those 20 years.
Oh.
And so you read that book the first time, and those that were 5 are now 25.
Right.
So now they're trying to face this big wide world and trying to figure out their own finances.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about why you still feel so passionate about this. What is it that, the message that you want to share, maybe what we can expect from this new edition?
Well, I'll just tell you another story because one of my teachers, he passed away recently, he's 90 when he passed away. He was in New York City in 1929, and he was working on the New York Stock Exchange. And so the market crashed, and people were committing suicide, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And these guys were just throwing this one stock, just throwing it because the stock went to nothing. So he picked them up.
Yeah.
So he picked up, I think, 400,000 shares that were now worth nothing. The war broke out, World War II. And after the war, when the Japanese lost the war, the stock was into a mining company. And that mining company made him a multi-millionaire in 25. So the whole point here is markets go up and markets go down. We all know that. So if you're prepared for this crash, it could be the best time of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're still living with the industrial age idea of invest for the long term in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, you're out of touch, man. You're out of touch. If you're trying to get out of debt, you're crazy because money is now debt. See?
Right.
And then if you're trying to save money, you're finished. Inflation will come, they'll raise interest rates a little bit, but not like to where they used to be. That's why I'm concerned. But when markets crash, it could be the best time because markets crash very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very good time to pick up things at bargain prices.
Right.
So in 2008, my wife Kim and I borrowed $300 million, nearly $500 million to buy real estate. We used debt to get rich. I don't recommend it, but I have the education to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Most people should follow Dave Ramsey, who says live debt free. It's good advice, but it's not my advice. So
Right.
follow
Sounds
Dave
boring.
Ramsey. Well, it's not going to save you.
No, it's not. And it's one of those things that...
Choose your teachers.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we've learned so much from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is still timely information. I still have my employees. I tell them to read it. My boys have read it. But I'm excited about your new book because why we want you to be rich, or actually why the rich are getting richer. Why we want you to be rich, I want to talk about too, because to me, that was very prophetic.
Let's say there's 3 books coming out in 2017. The first book is 20th anniversary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Please read that book. please look at why I wrote it so you can see what's going to come. Because the next 20 years are not going to be anything like the first 20 years. It's going to be completely different. And so Rich Dad, the 20th anniversary is the same book, but the reasons I wrote them are getting more intense. So you want to know why I wrote the book so you can make changes for the future. And the second book we're talking about is Why the Rich Are Getting Richer.
Right.
Which is I call Rich Dad Poor Dad Graduate School.
I love that.
When you're ready to go to graduate school, read that book.
Well, because again, it's I'm excited to read about it. But talk a little bit about why now? Is the timing of this book, does it have anything to do? Because I look at where we are as a country and the transition where we're headed right now, and it seems to me like it's very timely. This is a point right now where millennials, all generations really, could use this information. But was there a reason for the timing of it?
Well, let me show you that chart again of the Dow. Okay? Look at this. That high point there, the Dow hit Dow 20,000. Now, let's dream on. It's going to keep going. Do you think it's going to keep going? That's completely manipulated. Our financial system is corrupt. It started in 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard. So your question is this. Can, my friend Donald Trump, and I realize it's controversial, I'm not endorsing him in one way or the other, but he can't stop it. He can't save us. So you got to save yourself. You look at Italy. Italy's in huge trouble. If Italy goes down, the European Union goes down. Germany's in trouble. We have terrorism. These negative interest rates are wiping out retirement plans.
Right.
Okay, so are they going to miraculously, like CalPERS, which is the retirement plan for every California government employee? It's broke.
Right.
Just as baby boomers start to retire. You look at cities like Chicago, their pension plans are gone. California's gone. And these people are lying to you, saying, oh, don't worry, your pension will be there. So that's why I write. Nothing has changed. It's gotten worse. They haven't solved the problems. The problems have gotten worse because they covered it up. Okay, so that's why I don't say I have a crystal ball, but I can say this much. We haven't solved the problems. So that's why it's up to you, in my opinion, to take care of yourself and your family. That's why I write. That's why I thank you guys for being part of the Rich Dad family, because I'm not going to be able to save you, but you might be able to save yourself. So it's a very different point of view. I don't want President Trump to take care of me. I don't want him to. I don't want Social Security. I don't want the teachers union to take care of me like I had to take care of my father. I don't want to need Medicare or Obamacare or whatever they call it. I want to be independent. If you don't want to be, that's your choice. But it's up to you to make that decision. I made my decision a long time ago. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So why the rich are getting richer? Again, going back to the book one of the books you wrote with our president, Why We Want You to Be Rich.
Let me show you.
Yeah, one of them there. Well, there's Midas touch.
I know some of you hate him. I know some of you love him, and some of you are terrified of him right now. But I'll tell you, he's a great man. I've written 2 books with him. Why We Want You to Be Rich. We wrote this book when we realized the middle class was toast. Middle class is gone. If you think job security is going to save you, just realize robots are coming. 40% of all McDonald's workers will be replaced by robots pretty soon. Doctors, lawyers, and accountants will be replaced by robots, artificial intelligence. So the idea of going to school and get a safe, secure job, obsolete idea. Don't say that to your kids anymore. Okay. So this is the first book because we could see the middle class disappearing. And this here book, Midas Touch, is for entrepreneurs. It's what we know about money. Most entrepreneurs don't make much money. Most entrepreneurs go broke. So that's why Trump and I work. I know some of you hate him and all that. I'll just say my wife Kim loves him, even though he's a chauvinist pig. And I love working with him. He's a tough SOB. He is tough. Okay. And he said things he shouldn't have said. I don't agree with him on immigration or religion or some other things he said. But nonetheless, he's our president. Get used to it right now. There's going to be changes. He's going to shake.
He's doing
Well,
it
he's
now.
going to do it as a businessman, not as a politician.
Well, we
And-
never know. I mean,
You never know. We're early into this, but it is interesting to see it's a very different mindset. And we got to
Well-
change our mindset.
Well, that's rich dad. Trump says it. There was a clip. Maybe you can look at it. It's CNN. Look at this clip here with CNN. It's Hillary saying to the world that Trump doesn't pay taxes. And what does Trump say? Watch this.
Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
That makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid zero, that means zero for troops, zero for vets, zero for schools or health.
And Trump says, because I'm smart.
Right.
I don't pay taxes either. If you're paying taxes, does that mean you're not smart? Obama paid 30% in tax. And everybody goes, oh, he's such a good guy. I go, I'm glad he did, but I don't want to do that.
Right.
And he ran against Mitt Romney, another billionaire who paid 12% in tax. Now, the poor middle class got very angry,
They did.
as rightly they should. But they get angry at Romney or Obama when they should get angry at the school system. What does school teach you about money? What does school teach you about taxes? What does school
Right.
teach you about debt? Nothing. You should be angry at school.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, and you talked about in Why We Want You to Be Rich. You did. To me, it was you were ahead of your time when you were talking
Yes.
about the middle class was going away. And we've seen it over the last 10 years, because it's been 10 years since it came out. What about in your new book, Why the Rich Are Getting Richer? What can people expect to glean from that book?
Okay, well, let me send a warning to the middle class. The middle class are the ones that are in trouble, the ones with college degrees. And the reason they're in trouble is they actually stupidly believe that a college education is going to save them. Have you met
That piece of paper.
have you met arrogant people who have a college degree? Like, do you think the economy cares? Do you know, I remember I bought a Fitbit. Now it's obsolete.
Yeah.
Because Apple put one inside that cell phone. I don't need
Right.
Fitbit anymore. So all these guys with jobs with Fitbit, they go, well, I have a college degree. No, you're obsolete. He went to work for the wrong company. And that's what Trump says. He says those that survive are those who worked for the right company,
Right.
or became entrepreneurs. So I was talking to a whole bunch of MBAs the other day. Boy, they were arrogant. Preposterous. Jesus. They sat there, and Kim and I, it was just before New Year's, so Kim and I were discussing taxes. Kim and I had to move money before January 1st, just recently, because if we didn't move our money, we're going to pay tax. So these MBAs, there was about 8 of them, they're all like, oh, I want to add this and this and this. And Kim is signaling me, and they were looking down, and they got very upset that Kim and I didn't have master's degrees. We only have bachelor's degrees.
Oh, no.
And they looked down their bloody noses at us. Meanwhile, Kim is signaling, she's on the phone to Tom Wheelwright, my CPA and tax advisor. They had no idea, they didn't understand what Kim and I were saying.
Yeah.
So, just a minute. Okay, good, boom. That one move, we moved money someplace else legally. All of it's legal, because the government wants you to move your tax,
Right.
not pay taxes. Believe it or not, government doesn't want you to pay tax. They want you to do something differently. Just that move saved us $465,000 for 2016. Most of those MBAs don't make $465,000 a year.
Right.
Right.
But just in one move, because we have knowledge, we have good teams, we saved $465,000 legally in taxes. So if you want to find out how the rich make millions and not pay tax legally, that's what
These
Why
are
the
about.
Rich Are Getting Richer is about. It's your book. But if you think we're a bunch of crooks, go see Bernie Sanders.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the school systems just are not going to educate, so we have to take that move on our own to find that education, to seek it out.
Yes.
And I love these books because they do that.
Yes.
They
there is
allow
a
that.
war on right now.
There is.
There is a war on. When Trump came to power, those riots, I don't know, flash crowd, whatever they're doing, they're angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know something's wrong. And what I'm saying, what's wrong, is in 1971, the U.S. dollar stopped being money.
Yeah.
It became debt. And it's now causing this greatest, those who understand money are getting richer and richer and richer. Those who are working for money are getting poorer and poorer and poorer and paying more in tax.
Taxes. Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's what's happening. You want
Yeah.
grad school? Why the rich are getting richer? What is real financial education?
Yeah. Well, and I think we can look at over the last 8 years, there's been a really a mindset change, and a lot of these millennials have been affected by it. And to me, it's taken away any inspiration they may have. They've been sold a bill of goods that they can't do something on their own. And now all of a sudden we have a new president who's saying, guess what? I'm going to empower you. I'm going to give you that, because that's what Rich Dad Poor Dad does. It empowers people to understand it's in my control.
Yeah.
I can
And
do
just
it.
today, President Trump cut a whole bunch of regulations against small business. He has to do that.
Right.
It's all these academic types like Hillary and Obama. I'm not Republican or Democrat. Hillary is an attorney, and Obama's an employee. E, S, B, and I. Obama, employee.
Right.
Hillary, attorney. Trump, business owner, professional investor. Which one do you want to be? This is the chart here. Okay. This is the cash flow quadrant. Obama's an employee. Everybody goes to school, becomes an employee. The smart ones become attorneys, S quadrant, smart guys. And guys like Trump and I on B and the I side. So those of you who want to join the B and the I side, read Why the Rich Are Getting Richer and Rich Dad Poor Dad, the advanced version. You might have a better chance. Okay. But if you want to be on the E and the S side, just go to school. That's the war.
Yeah,
right now, okay?
it is. That's the difference.
It is. Well, in 1997, that was, the brink of the internet?
Yep.
I remember when I was in college then, we actually had to go to the library, get books to
Yeah.
study, and then we had the internet.
Yeah.
And then we've got all this technology, and as
Right.
you said, robots are coming, and we've got this entirely new way of doing business. And so I love that in the new book, Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, it perhaps gives those that are facing this new business, this new style of business, something to go off of.
Oh, today, if you're an employee, you're in trouble. Face it, you'll pay more tax. Let me show the tax rate one more time. On the E and the S side, this is all over the world, not any different, all approximate. Employees pay 40% of their income in tax. And the S guys, the smart guys, like real estate agents and doctors and attorneys, they pay 60% tax.
Right.
They work for money. That violates Rich Dad's rule number 1, don't work for money. These guys went to school, work for money. The B and the I side, the B's pay just 20% in tax. Why? Because they do what the government wants done. I pay less in tax because I hire people. I'm not looking for a job, I create jobs. So I pay less in tax. And the I side, I pay 0 because I'm a partner with the government. I invest in real estate. I don't buy houses, I buy apartment houses. I invest in oil, I invest in food. And if I do what the government wants done to keep the economy running, the government, the tax department gives me tax breaks.
Right.
But they don't tell you that in school.
That's right. They don't
The
teach you
biggest
that.
tax cheats are E's and S's, not B's and I's. If you understand that, you go, well, who's the tax cheat? Well, most E's and S's, they're all cheating. They're a little under the table here, I know the game. I was an E and S at one time, but you don't have to play a tax cheat game if you're on the B and the I side.
But if you don't know any better,
Yes,
in their
that's
defense, that's the
what you
mindset
do.
they're coming from. Thanks for taking part in today's live stream. We're interrupting the stream for just a minute to tell you about a special announcement. In honor of Robert's mission to elevate the financial well-being of humanity, we're offering everyone participating in today's event a free strategy session, plus an additional 6 months of free access to Robert's expert coaching team when you enroll in any new coaching program. Your free one-on-one confidential strategy session will give you a chance to talk to a member of the Rich Dad coaching team about your personal goals and how coaching can help guarantee your ultimate goal of getting out of the rat race. So use this time to take control of your financial future by clicking on one of the banners below for this exclusive offer. As you can imagine, Robert's personal coaching team can only accommodate a limited number of free one-on-one personal strategy sessions. So this offer is only available on a first-come, first-served basis. When we reach that limit, we'll be forced to pull down this exclusive offer. So click the banner right now to claim your free strategy session and 6 months of additional free access. Let's hear about the experience of a couple of Rich Dad success stories who took control of their financial future, and they've seen some amazing results.